Welcome back to H-TownStories. I'm your host, Nick Ramirez. Before we get into the stories, please take a look at my Instagram page, H-TownStories. Go ahead and click follow for that. Like and subscribe down below if you enjoy hearing these stories. Now, you know what we do here. This is the place for ordinary people to tell their extraordinary tales. But before we get into the story, if you have a friend that has a story that needs to be told, please contact me at htownstories@yahoo.com. This week's guest is Miss Lillian Mejia. So go ahead and welcome my guest. As always, my fake applause that I always do. Just going into Supermom. That's what we were just talking about right now and off air. And it's, being mom, there's always a lot of guilt that comes with getting your space and your own time, right? Like I try to tell my wife all the time, we have a 1-year-old. She wants to be there for every single moment, every second. And you want to be, of course, but when do you get time to be yourself or Lillian or just relaxing and take a breath so you can go back and get recharged and take that time to recharge yourself and then go back to the family and be ready. I don't know, sometimes I think it's hard for moms, of course, to get that. What do you think?
I don't get it, and necessarily I don't get it because I kind of feel like maybe I don't need it. Mm-hmm. Or I don't want it because I'm already doing what I want to be doing, mm-hmm. which is to be taking care of my family.
Yeah.
Yes, but then whenever I do have stuff, like I get invited somewhere or something, that mom guilt kicks in big, and I'm like, okay, do I sacrifice time with my kid, or do I go to this activity, this adult only activity that I got invited to and I can't take them to? Like, what do I do? And 9 times out of 10, I'm going to pick staying home and, not bothering with getting dressed, not bothering with putting makeup on, not worrying about anything. I'm just going to chill out on the couch and just be with my family. And I'm fine with that. And that's all you need.
So with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and get into the stories. So I'm going to start you off with the question that we always ask, and it's just, where did you grow up?
I grew up, it's two parts. I was born and grew up in Puerto Rico till I was 10. Mm-hmm. And then at 10, we moved here to Houston.
So what do you remember of life back on the island?
Oh, it was fun. We had fun. During the week, it was the same thing all the time. We grew up going to school, to a Catholic school. Mm-hmm. It was like in the next town over. So, we'd get up, we'd all put our uniforms on, and the three of us. We'd put on our uniforms. My dad would drive us to school on his way to work and then drop us off, and we'd go to school, and then my mom would be the one that picked us up, and we'd come home and just chill and relax. On the weekends, on Saturdays we would either go to my aunt's house or my grandparents' house, and then Sundays was the beach.
Every Sunday?
Pretty much every Sunday. The only times we didn't go was when the weather was bad.
Yeah. Was that like y'all's family fun day?
Church.
Oh, that was your church?
The beach on Sunday was our church. Like, pretty much every Sunday we would go.
And was it just like your family unit or like grandma, grandpa?
No. Just the 5 of us.
Oh, that's awesome.
My parents and my sisters. Yeah.
That's a great way to make it a point. Like, with the beach being so close by here, it should be it's a point to just go and have time to spend with each other.
The
just
beach
open.
Here? That's not a beach.
Yeah, I know. Especially what you've seen. What is the water over there? Crystal?
Well, funny story. When we moved here from Puerto Rico, our dad, we were like, where are we going to go for a beach? Because we were so used to going to the beach. It was just ingrained in us. It was part of what we did.
Yeah. It was part of the routine of life.
My dad's like, well, there is a beach nearby. Let me take y'all to show it to y'all. Well, when we got to the seawall, all 3 of us, we started crying. Like,
what?
Crying, like actual tears. Like, why did you bring us here? It's not clean water.
What?
It's dirty. And we made him take us back home. We didn't want to stay there.
What was it about what was it about the two beaches that really made you upset coming and seeing your brand new beach? Like what's the difference from the
Well,
beach
the
at home?
looks of the water. The when you drive up to the beach in Puerto Rico, like it's clear blue. Like when you step in it, you can see your feet. Like crystal clear, like clean, beautiful. And over there, it's just the water's just dark and dingy, and who knows what's in there. Like
the older I get, and then the more I get in the water, I'm like, I don't really know if I want to be in this water because I don't know what's next to me. I went fishing with a neighbor of mine the other day, and there was somebody left a fishing line. I swear to God, it was about half a mile long. I don't know where it was going, but I'm out there wade fishing. And the line kept touching my leg, and every time I'm like, "What is touching me?" And like, our seaweed would just come by the cuff of my ankle, and nope, I'm done. I'm done.
Well, over there, you see, like you see your feet, so there's no doubt if a fish is coming, you're gonna see it coming. You know, like no, never again. I don't frequent Galveston. I don't. It's not.
Well,
it's not my favorite.
That Galveston Bay made you cry as a child.
It did.
I don't know if you're the only one I've ever heard that
poor
from.
thing. He was really trying. You know, he was
Just
like, man, I had to bring my girls over here. Let me see what I can find to appease them. And no, that was not the place to do it.
So you said you were in Catholic school over there. And you mentioned a story about a nun. What was that story?
Well, she wasn't a nun. She was just one of the teachers. We did have nuns.
Oh, you didn't have nuns.
That worked, yeah. But she was just one of the teachers. Well, back then, you know, I guess it was not allowed. I guess it wasn't frowned upon for teachers to, you know,
corporal punishment.
Spank you.
Corporal punishment.
So,
I think what the system's meeting now. No, I'm just joking. I don't know.
I'm a teacher now, but as a student, I wasn't. Especially in elementary school, I didn't want to be in school. I wanted to play. I wasn't the greatest student. I wouldn't study my spelling words. So when it came time to do the spelling test, I would fail it because I didn't study my words. And, you know, my mom was busy with my older sister and my middle sister. And, you know, as the third child, you kind of just, you know, do your best kind of thing. Like, you kind of get, you know,
you get thrown around.
A little bit forgotten. Like, not completely, but, you know.
I understand the pain as being the last born as well.
My sister was the opposite of me. My middle sister was the opposite of me as far as her studies. She was straight A's in school, especially there. She thrived there, and I didn't thrive there. Like, it wasn't for me. Well, anyway, I wouldn't pass my spelling test, and she would come and she would let it be known to the whole class that I didn't pass my test, and then she would spank me.
So wait, okay, hold on. So
and she would spank me the number of times for the amount of words that I missed on the test.
So wait a minute, you've already failed your test. Then the humiliation of her presenting you in front of the whole class.
Yeah, she would call me up to her table.
Oh my God.
And apparently, I guess I was like the only one that would fail the test because I only remember it just happening to me.
So everybody, like, you were the model, and everybody was like, I'm gonna be a greatest speller in the world because I'm never getting spanked in front of my classmates.
I don't remember. Like, I recall it happening to me, but I don't recall her doing it to anybody else in the class.
Oh my God.
Maybe I was like, you know, my last name, you know, my maiden name is Ortiz, so I know I wasn't the first one in the lineup. You know, like my name does not come up first in alphabetical order.
Yeah.
So why am I the only one getting spanked? Well, my sister, she's 2 years older than I am, and she's in the same school as I am. You know, back then, that school was, you know, kindergarten all the way through senior year in the same building. So I would, of course, get upset and start crying, and I would just be bawling. And so they would have to go and get my middle sister so she could calm me down. And this would happen like almost every Friday.
Every Friday? Oh my God. At no point did you like, I guess I should study?
I didn't learn my lesson to study.
I bet the lady's arm was I'm getting tired of this.
And I don't think, like,
I'm going to have to start switching to my left hand this time.
Well, the thing is, I never told my mom. And I don't think my sister would tell my mom either. We just kept it to ourselves. So my mom didn't know this was happening. And I think at one point the teacher finally called my mom, and I was like, "Hey, Lillian's not passing her spelling test. Like,
I've already beat this girl's ass 20 times."
And then I think finally I told my mom, "Well, you know she's spanking me, right?" But by that point, like, the year was over. So I get to second grade, and you know, the second grade teacher notices that I'm struggling to read, and that you know, I'm not a great speller, obviously.
I wonder why. There's some anxiety every time you write a word.
Yeah,
you just get hit.
This teacher actually took the time to teach me how to read,
Oh,
and teach me
look at
how
that.
to write, and so I think that's when I kind of turned. It was second grade, and that's when I was like, kind of like, okay, maybe I should. They're trying hard for me.
Yes.
Maybe I should try a little bit harder for them. My mom got me a tutor, and I would
wow.
work with a tutor in the afternoons to at least get my homework done and practice my spelling words. And I did get better. And then, as I matured and the years, went on, I became a much better, more organized student. And maybe that's where my organization skills came from now.
Maybe. Because of the fear of getting presented.
The spanking kind of got literally beaten into me.
She could have just given you a dunce hat like it was straight 1940s. That lady must have been a dinosaur teaching.
I don't know.
God.
I still remember her name, Miss Aleman.
You're not going to forget those teachers. A teacher that does something, especially something as humiliating as that. And I mean, for what? Just missing a couple of words when she could have solved the problem by calling your mom the first time, not 20 times.
But back then, they didn't really. I don't think they really called the parents back then.
Yeah.
They handled it at school. Like, they handled it. And I don't know. I started not to want to eat lunch. And I started not to like, especially the milk that they gave us.
Oh, no.
I would, like they would force us to drink the milk, and it's like this. It wasn't like yummy. Yeah, like I wasn't ever a fan of milk. I wouldn't drink milk on its own.
Yeah.
I would drink milk with cereal, and that was it. Like, and still to this day, I don't drink milk anymore. Like,
would be a lactose or something like that.
I don't know. I just never enjoyed it. So they made this, chocolate milk mix, and it even smelled gross. Like, but they would force you to drink it, and I got to the point where I got
Where did you go to school?
Like,
oh my God.
A Catholic private school in Puerto Rico. That's where I went to school.
Well, so a Catholic private school, that means, mom and dad were making enough to be able to pay for the school, correct?
Yeah.
So what did your mom and dad do?
My mom was staying at home. It was my dad making the bucks.
Okay.
Yeah, like my dad worked for a chemical plant, and he
was a chemist, right? You said
pretty much like he worked with chemicals. That's what I know. I don't know what his official title is. I call him a chemist because he worked with mixing compounds together to make the product that whoever ordered it wanted, right? And so he made good money. We weren't rich, but we were definitely not poor. We were middle class, and they did what they needed to do they were financially successful, I would say.
So how did you end up coming to the States? Because you said, you got there and you got spanked all the way till 10 years old.
No,
and
just
now
for first grade. Yeah, I was fine after second grade.
So now you come over, and how did you come to the States?
So we came to the States because my dad's job transferred us here. So the company, the factory or the plant closed down in Puerto Rico, and they offered him a transfer, and they had to pick between New Jersey and here, or not Houston, Texas City. That's where the plant is. My mom, they had lived in New York before, so they knew what winters up north were like. And my mom's like, I'm not doing the cold weather.
Man, the older I get, I love the cold weather, but it gets down to 40s, and I'm like, man, it's freezing.
Yeah, but over there, it's like shoveling snow.
Yeah, and I'm like, but again, you adapt, right? If that's really where you want to live. But
my mom didn't want to adapt.
Yeah.
she wanted nothing to do with being up north. And then it was New Jersey too. I don't know what's wrong with New Jersey. I've never lived there. If you're from New Jersey, I'm sorry, but my parents did not pick New Jersey.
Jersey's always the butt of a joke. I don't understand, and that's probably a social context of based in the city. But
we're stereotyping, right?
Yeah.
My mom didn't want to do New Jersey, so the only other choice was over here. So he got transferred to the Texas City plant, and we moved to the Clear Lake area. So I went to Clear Lake Elementary when I first started here. I was 10. In Puerto Rico, the English and Spanish are taught. It's like a dual language program. You pretty much every Puerto Rican is bilingual.
Oh wow!
Because English is it's incorporated into the education system over there.
Is it because of the the Americans going over and vacationing over, like the tourism that's there, like they know that's a heavy part of their economy?
And we are in U.S. territory, so if English is the language in the States, then we need to know that too. Okay. So it's only a benefit to to know both languages.
It is.
And so the Spanish is still the major language there, but everybody gets taught English. Now, whether you choose to embrace it or not, that's an individual choice,
Yeah.
Some people, you get it taught, but some people just choose not to get it stuck in their brain.
That's true.
So when I came over here, they tested me and everything. Clear Lake, it's not
Hispanic whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. Especially at that point.
Yeah, and this was what?
All the kids that I went to school with, their parents were in NASA employees.
Wow.
Yeah, I was, I was one of the darkest ones in the school. Let's just say that. And I know, most everybody was predominantly white. So of course they didn't have a bilingual program within the school. So they did have an ESL teacher, Mrs. Sweeney. I still remember her name. Wonderful, wonderful lady. She had the patience of a saint.
Yeah.
I would get pulled out from my class, and she would work with me, and it was kind of just sink or swim for me. So I really decided that I got held back a year because when they tested me, my English level was not was coming in for 5th grade. Right, my English level was not at a 5th grade level, so I got held back to 4th grade. But by then elementary school was full, kinder to pre-K through 5th.
5th, yes.
Yeah, I'm old.
No, it was fine. Mine was the same way.
Yeah.
But it must have been pretty difficult. What kind of were you was it? How challenging was it for you to pick up the language? To really, I guess, pick up the language up to their standards, right? Because they kind of held you back because of that. So, how did it feel?
Well, I think I was so immersed in it, my parents made a point not to let us forget the Spanish, but they kind of made it a rule. You need to learn the English to where you're up to par, with everybody else. Where I'm not going to let you, you're already behind because we had to put you back a year, but now it's up to you to really learn. So I really worked hard on my pronunciation. I really worked hard on, my reading skills. And, this lady really worked with me. And so by the next year, I was, pretty much out of the ESL program, and I was just in with my peers all the time. So by 5th grade, I was pretty much
in a general
back to
ed.
normal. Yeah.
It's crazy. So seeing as you're one of the very few Puerto Ricans that are there on campus, did you experience anything that was interesting or anything like that?
Actually, no. Everybody was really welcoming, and I think it was the opposite. It was almost wow, this girl is different. Let's everybody gravitate to her.
Oh, wow.
And again, the antisocial, that's in me.
Yeah.
And I was not interested in being popular. I was not interested
and everybody wanted to
having everybody's attention on me or anything of the sort. So I did make a couple of great friendships. I still keep in touch with them through Facebook.
Yeah.
I don't call them or anything like that. I know what they're doing. I know where they're at. But it's not I didn't face anything. I didn't feel like I was being treated negatively in any shape, way, or form.
Well, that's
Everybody
awesome.
was really welcoming.
But still growing up in the Clear Lake area, man, that's pretty crazy. Having all those kids that are mom and dad are brilliant. That's insane. Did you ever feel any academic pressure or anything like that? Because I'm assuming you went through all your scholastic career through Clear Lake, right?
Yes, I went to Clear Lake Elementary, Clear Lake Intermediate, and I graduated from Clear Lake High.
Because I would assume just the natural level of intellect in that area is probably just a lot higher, just because it comes from a better quality of.
Well, I didn't know any different.
That's true.
It was my first school here in the States, and it's the same groups. I guess when we went to intermediate school, then the Seabrook kids come, and it's all mixed in a little bit more, and then high school, it's even a bigger mix. But as far as meeting extra students, academically, I didn't know any different. I didn't know really what to expect. So whatever they were giving me, okay, this is what I have to do, this is what I have to complete. And I wasn't a straight A student either. I had my A's and my B's, but my parents also started engraving in me. We need to think about the future. You're going to have a career. You're going to go to college, and you can't do that without, making
all the
good
other
grades.
stuff. Yeah. So what was coming here to the States, and then what about the pace of life, like, or what did you feel like that was different from the island life to here? Like, how did
On
the
island, your life is basically a vacation.
what do you mean?
Well, just the going to the beach.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always something to do.
Yeah.
Here we felt kind of isolated. The beach is just so freeing. You go, you can relax on the sand with your, feet on the sand in a chair. You can go in the water and play around in the water. It's fun, right? And it's always there.
Yeah.
Here we went from, and then we would go to see our relatives. When we moved here, it was just us.
Oh man.
Our grandparents my grandparents from my dad's side stayed over there. My aunt stayed over there. All of my mom's cousins that would frequent and visit, they stayed over there. So it was just the 5 of us here.
Okay.
And we really didn't know anybody when we initially moved here. My dad's co-workers that got transferred here too when the plant closed down eventually started meeting together. But they all ranged in ages, and their kids all ranged in ages.
Yeah.
So it's not like you
had a set group of friends to kind of hang out with or anything.
Yeah, and they all lived in different areas. Like my sister's best friend, for example, we went to Clear Lake High, and she went to Clearbrook, not Clearbrook, Creek. Clear Creek High.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like we lived within the same general area, but we weren't going to the same schools. And then, so it was just us. It was just us. So the family family aspect was different. And so.
What about the pace of life? Like because I asked one of my last guests last time about the pace of life compared to the pace of life in Puerto Rico. Anything that you've seen that you've maybe realized now of like how fast we move, or maybe how slow we move, or just things that are like nuanced stuff?
I guess over here it was just it just kind of became routine too, but just like a different routine. Like our weekends just became just us hanging out at home amongst ourselves. So in that sense, it kind of slowed down because we weren't as busy doing fun things like we would do when we were in Puerto Rico. But as far as the day-to-day, the routine was the same. You get up, you go to school, you come home, and then back to doing the same thing the next day. My mom did start working when we moved here. I don't know. I guess because we were older and we didn't need her as much. Yeah. And she just felt like she just couldn't sit at the house all day without much to do. So she did start working when we moved here, and that was a shift for our family. But
that must have been difficult.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump straight into where'd you meet your husband? Like, you talked about a first date story of how you knew it was the guy of your dreams, right? Like, so and we talked about that story a little bit, but I wanted to hear it fresh. So can you tell me the story of that first date with your husband? What was it like?
Well, the story of how we met is actually a little bit more touching than our first date story.
Okay.
So let me tell you that one first. So at the time that we met, I was working at the airport at Hobby, and I worked as part of management, and one of my job duties entailed going to all the EMS calls and all the emergency response calls so I could document everything for management. And he's an HFD firefighter. So whenever those calls would come down, I would go to the gate wherever the incident was happening, and then I would have to get information from them so I could put it as part of my report. So the day that his unit came in, it's kind of sad at the same time, but it's got its silver lining. The call came in, it was a flight coming in, and the kid that was coming in, or the call that was coming in on the flight was a kid that was having problems breathing. Oh. Well, the kid, I say kid, but it was really like a teenager, 15, 16-year-old. He had lung cancer, and he was flying into Houston to go to get treatment for his lung cancer.
Oh, man.
His oxygen machine that he was on stopped working in flight.
During the flight?
During the flight. And so, they have backups.
Yeah.
The airlines have backups too.
I didn't know that. So they carry out backups just for that stuff?
Yeah, they carry backup oxygen for, for those kinds of instances, and, they're prepared for emergencies. So just a precaution, and to get him checked out, they called the ambulance out. Mm-hmm. So since the kid was still receiving oxygen, not his own, but the oxygen that the airline, supplied, when he got out of the flight and they checked him out and everything, he was fine, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm here talking to one of the paramedics, getting his information, and he grabs Alfonso and he's like, "Hey, you really need to get this girl's number."
He told him that? Why?
I don't know. And yeah, I was single at the time. Uh-huh. I didn't have a boyfriend, and it was, fine and dandy or whatever. And I'm just looking at him like, I'm trying to do my job. And so Alfonso just looks at me. He's like, "Okay, can I have your number?"
And he tells you like that, just like that.
So we do exchange numbers there. I'm getting other information about, the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but later in, I have the kids, all this stuff, all the information, and, we planned, he did call me, and we planned our first date and everything. And at the end of the day, I went to look information into the kid because I wanted to let him know that, because of you, this was after we, got married and started our family and everything. Mm-hmm. Because of you, this family started.
Yeah.
And so as I was doing my research, I found the kid's obituary, which is it was really, really sad. And so I told Alfonso, and he's like, "You know what? You should probably try to reach out to this mom. This mom would probably love to hear the story." And I'm like, "I don't know, maybe not." Like,
hey, maybe the mom will listen to this, because that's a great story. I think that's
maybe she would, maybe she wouldn't. I don't know, but because of this kid, because of something wonderful started because of this call at the airport, where these two strangers, met because of what happened to you on the airplane.
Yeah.
Now this whole new family exists because of your existence.
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Like, he was the guy, just randomly the guy too. And what makes him grab you? I mean, not grab you, but at least tell him like, "Hey,
the other medic, he'd known me from previous calls. Like, I responded to. Whenever I was on duty, I responded to the EMS calls at the airport. Okay. And those happen more often than you think. Mm-hmm. So he had seen me at a previous call, and, I'm a professional wherever I work. Yeah. So I'm always nice and cordial, and, know. And so I guess he was just like, hey, maybe he knew he knew Alfonso's situation better at that point than I did. And he was like, hey, you need to get with this one, But so we did go out on our first date, and it was just like so wonderful. Like, we just clicked. Mm-hmm. It was just so easy. Mm-hmm. Like, we talked the whole time. There was no awkward silences. It was just like at the end of the night when we had to go our separate ways, it was like, why do we have to go our separate ways? Like, I just want to keep hanging out with you. And it almost seemed like after that we were just like together all the time. And I was like, I was working full time, and so was he, and his schedule's crazy. So we're trying to make it work as much as, possible. And then, we kind of it wasn't long before we were like already living together and stuff. 'Cause we realized that,
it was, y'all were ready.
Well, it was meant to be, and, we get along so great. Like, I think we both have, and I know I've mentioned this to you before, we both have such a great respect for each other and admiration for each other for what we stand for and the things that we do, that like I would never do anything to sabotage that or hurt him, or makes me want to get teary. I love him. Like, yeah.
Well, rightfully so, right? And you married him, you met him because of the guy. You have this beautiful meeting story. You have a great first date. Everything's clicking all on, on all cylinders. And now you have, I don't know if you wanted to talk about it, but your miscarriage.
Yeah, we did. We got married, and we both knew that we wanted have a family. I was ready for that. He was ready for that, which is, you know, one of the main reasons why we got married. You know, these are all discussions you need to have before you get married, people. Yes. Make sure that you are on the same page on, you know, the major topics, right?
Yes.
So yeah, this is something that we were both ready for. You know, we both have our careers basically, and you know, our good jobs, our good paying jobs. Like we were financially stable and in a good relationship, and we were ready. So yeah, we got pregnant, and I was probably like 4 weeks along, and I started not feeling so hot, and I was bleeding, and I went to the doctor, and I had lost the baby, like completely. Like they didn't even to go and do anything. Like it was gone. We didn't get to figure out if it was a boy or a girl. We weren't to that stage in the pregnancy yet, but yeah, it was pretty hard on us, pretty shattering, and I didn't know why. And you know, they can't really explain to you why. And so you just try to, you know, what can you do? You have to put it past you and move on, right? And it's hard, but
and I ask only because you know, my wife and I, we had a miscarriage as well. I wear, you know, if you ever see me out wearing a ring on the right hand side, that's usually what the ring stands for. And you know, when you hear it, you start hearing other people's stories of like, oh, we had one too, and then we had one too, and then we had one too, and you find out
it happens too often.
Yeah, it happens almost every family that started, you might have had one somewhere along the line. And it's a pain that everybody carries, which is even weirder when you think about like, oh, it's not talked about, but when you do find out, everybody has a story.
And it's also harder to get pregnant than not.
Yeah. You know, we worry about all these teens getting pregnant and stuff like that on the first try, which usually happens.
It happens. But
you're right. It is
when
harder.
you really are trying, it doesn't happen. And it's sad because the people that are really trying, it's because they're really ready. And then these other people, they're not even trying, and they're having a whole bunch.
They have like 10 kids, and they're like, I guess by this one, I'll figure out how this parenting thing works. But you're right. And you find out. It
almost makes me mad because it's almost unfair. Right?
It's like the beginning of that Idiocracy movie. You ever seen that movie?
I don't think I have.
It starts off with a couple that's like 35. I think both couples are around 30. No, they start off in their teens. Then they meet how they meet after high school, their couple and everything. Well, you have like the idiot, so to speak, character. He meets somebody at 16 and starts having kids right away. And so you see his family tree start to develop faster and faster and faster. Then you have this great intellectual couple that's working on themselves and everything and trying to make themselves better before they become a family unit. And so then it shows them and checking in with them by decade. And so then by 29, the idiot has like 10 kids. And then by 29 here, oh, we're finally, you know, we saved enough for a house. That's what the other couple says, the intellectual couple. And then it checks back in at 35, and they're like, their kids are 18 almost or something like that. Something ridiculous.
About to start college.
Yeah, they're about to. No, they're not even going to college. They're having kids in themselves. And then we check in with the intellectual couple. Oh, we just now are ready to have a kid. We're ready to go. We're set.
And they have to do IVF.
And so then it cuts again to the 40. And then the kids, they're already grandkids. There's already other kids running around. So then you have like 20 quote unquote idiots. And then the intellectual couple at 40, the husband dies.
Yeah.
So then the wife's like, I guess we have some of his sperm frozen, so I guess we're gonna try to do this. And then it finds out like basically that couple has no kids, and there's this idiot
who has a whole bunch.
There's a whole bunch, and it just overruns us. It's just crazy.
It is crazy, and it's just like I said, it's kind of unfair.
It is.
We try to do everything kind of like by the book or the way it's supposed to be, quote unquote, but it doesn't always pan out. And, you know, who are we to plan? Because obviously we're not in charge. Somebody else is in charge. Something else is in charge. And we can't control what we can't control.
That's true.
And so, well, you know, being a Catholic girl, like I'm Catholic by being raised that way.
Yes.
You know, it wasn't my choice really. Like I was just
Catholic,
raised Catholic. But I don't really practice it as much.
Like a true Catholic.
Exactly.
Most of us are raised in it.
I do have my beliefs and everything, but I'm not like, I don't practice. I don't go to the Catholic church, and I don't. But when I got married to appease my mother, basically, and, you know, to follow with tradition and our values, we did get married in the Catholic church. And we did baptize our son in the Catholic Church as well.
We also baptized our son in the bath in the Catholic Church.
And so, as part of the Catholic Church,
I think that sums up Catholics.
Yes, wedding training. You have to do this course, like a marriage. It's like, pre-marriage preparation course, right? And within that course, they teach you the method, right? So that they really don't believe in birth controls as far, as in the medical sense, like using, condoms or birth control pills. So they teach you, how to map out your days and take your temperature so you know when you're ovulating, and they know all this stuff. So being who I am, I learned that stuff to a T.
Oh my God. I've got it mapped. This is my map. I carry my binder with me. I know that we're ready.
I just know up here. I don't carry a binder or anything. I just know up in my head, like when I can do things and when I can't do things, and I got this under control, right? So after the miscarriage, like I knew I wanted a kid.
Yeah.
If not at least one, at least one.
Yeah.
If that was all
if
that
not a football team.
Yeah. If that's all, I would welcome more and everything. It would be great. But if that was all I was gonna have, then just please at least let me have one.
Yes.
Please, I do want to be a mom.
Yeah.
So after I really didn't avoid trying to get pregnant after that, like.
But it does take a toll, a little bit. You have to kind of make
you
peace
have to
with the
heal,
loss.
and you have to grieve because it is a death, and it does hurt.
Yeah,
and
because it's the possibility, right? The what if, and it lingers.
Exactly.
It lingers because that's having a child is already a life-changing moment, but the moment that you're thinking you're gonna have one, and then it immediately gets taken away from you. Just that pressure, not the pressure, but that what if lingers so much longer than anything else, because you really just want to know, like, what would have life been like? Like you just don't know what would that child have been like, whatever. But then again, the what if, you can't get too lost into it.
No,
so then
because then you're just dwelling and dwelling and dwelling, and you can't move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was already in my mid 30s by this point, and so I'm like, man, I need to get going because it's only gonna get worse as I get older. And I kind of like question, like, am I already too old? Like, is this why I miscarried? Like, you start kind of questioning yourself a little bit, but what you're doing, and you're not doing. I'm pretty healthy.
Yes. You're taking care of yourself.
I take care of myself. I'm not into drugs. I'm not into drinking. Like, I don't smoke. Like, the common things that they tell you not to do, I don't do them in general.
And then the worst thing is you go and they tell you, okay, if you're going to have another one, just try not to stress out.
Sure.
just don't stress out. I can't tell you. I can give you the medicine. Go to the beach.
Yeah. That is my medicine, except there's no pretty beach here. Oh my goodness. Well, I do get pregnant with Miguel, and everything is going well.
So that's what I was gonna ask you next. So, like, when did you find out how did you find out you were pregnant? Was it a monumental moment?
I planned it.
That's right. I don't even have to ask that, right?
Hello, it was planned.
Scheduled it. It's Tuesday. We gotta go.
Yes.
Your husband's at work right now. Hey guys, it's Tuesday. I gotta go. I can't stay late. I'm not getting the next call.
This needs to happen, and this needs to happen either tonight. We got tonight, tomorrow night, and that's it. Like, then the window closes. Like, we gotta go. So yeah, it was totally planned. Like,
so let's cut to the next part of the story. So we find out you find out you're pregnant, and where does the pregnancy go from there? Like, how is it an easy pregnancy? Is there things coming up that is it getting hard? Like, for each pregnancy is different.
It's different, yeah. So I get pregnant with Miguel, and everything's going well. We go to our first trimester screen. So our trimester screen, something came up, genetics. Like, something came up that they questioned, the genetics. Something didn't look right.
They usually do that screen around 4 months, 6 months, something like that?
Yeah. Well, first trimester screen is what they call it.
Okay, so yeah 3 months.
So I did have to get the amnio.
Which is?
The amniocentesis, where they go in with the big needle to get the fluid.
Okay, you're going to have to describe this. like, wait a minute. So it's a huge needle, like, and they go in and they go into the fetus?
They go in through your stomach, and they extract some of the amniotic fluid.
Wow, that's crazy. I did not know that.
Yeah, and then they analyzed it for the DNA. I'm not no doctor. I don't know the specifics of it. I just know that I had to get one done.
Were you awake for the procedure?
Yeah, you're awake.
Was it
they
intimidating
numb
seeing
you
this
up.
long needle or anything?
I didn't really see it. I would imagine so, because it's got to get through,
Oh my god,
a lot to make it in there.
Yeah.
They do it. It's kind of it's kind of like it. Did you went to the sonograms? I would
yes,
imagine.
yes.
So it's kind of that kind of environment.
Okay.
They're looking at everything through the sonogram when they're doing it, and so, well, that turned out to be okay, but so everything was fine. I think in hindsight, what they were saying was him being wrapped around my.
Oh, that's true. So I mean, we can tell you can go ahead and tell the audience that now if you want, like what happened. But well, let's lead up to it, right? So
Yeah.
So then, how else does the pregnancy go from there?
It was going great. I felt great till the day I didn't feel great.
Ooh.
And at 26 weeks pregnant, I didn't feel great. I woke up, I was swollen pretty much from head to toe. Like, even the whites of my eyes were puffy.
The whites of your eyes?
Yeah, like when I looked at my eye, like, the colored part was there, and then the white of my eye was protruding around it. Like, it sounds weird. But
no, but I mean,
that's the main thing that freaked me out. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, something is not right, and I was feeling kind of funny.
yeah.
Of course, it's a day that Alfonso is at the station. So, of course, he's at the station. I call him, and I'm telling, like, look how crazy I am.
What do you mean? What did you do? Did you?
Back then, I worked the second shift. I'm not a morning person. I thrive up late. So
Yeah.
I worked the second shift. I went in like at 3, and I would got off like at 11, the 3 to 11 shift. And
Even pregnant?
yeah, even pregnant.
Oh
Like,
my
my
God.
plan was to, like, when I do things, I do things.
Yes.
Like, my plan was to work throughout my whole entire pregnancy, and I was bygone it. I'm gonna have this baby natural. I don't want any meds or anything. If I'm supposed to feel pain, I want to feel the
my
pain.
gosh. Yeah.
Like, if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Like, 100% do
I
it.
want to feel and experience what it is to
Yes.
be a mother. I don't want any kind of sedative.
Yeah, I
My
wanted
wife
to.
was the
I
same
wanted to
way.
go all in and do it the
Yeah.
way it's supposed to be done. Crazy, like.
And you look
What-
back and you're
what
like,
am
why?
why am I trying to plan stuff? Why? Like, I don't know.
It never works out for
It-
people that
it-
love to
yes.
overly plan for
It
some
doesn't.
reason.
So I'm noticing this when I'm getting ready to go to work.
Yeah.
So I shower, I put on my work uniform. I stop in at work
First.
and I tell him, I don't feel good, but I want to show up to work because I don't like to miss work. I don't like to be irresponsible, right?
Yeah.
Plus, I also wanted them to see me.
For
just
verification, right? Like,
no, just so that to verify that I wasn't going crazy.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? Like just to make
yeah,
sure.
like, do you see what I'm seeing in my eyes? Or I'm just like, no. And they're like, no, you need to go. You need to go now. Do you want one of us to drive you? And I was like, no, I'm gonna drive myself. I'm good. I'm good. I'm gonna make it. So I called Alfonso. I'm like, okay, I'm on my way to the doctor, and I think I need to. Something's just not right. I just wanted to get checked out.
Yeah.
Well, I make it into the doctor's office, and they take my blood pressure. My blood pressure is through the roof.
Ooh.
I'm already, they call it preeclampsia. Like, I'm already, like,
Yes. Yeah.
my body's already going into toxic mode. Like, the doctor's like, I need to wheel you. The hospital was next door. It's women's. And my doctor's office, like, was the little office building that's right next door.
Yes.
So he's like, you're having this baby either tonight or tomorrow.
And at 26
At 26 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
26 weeks.
Every mother that's listening right now is like, what?
Yeah. So, of course, Alfonso's trying to get his dealings at the station to be able to come to the hospital with me. I'm like, you need to call all my family. I was like, don't call my mom. Call Michelle and tell Michelle what's going on. And Michelle will tell everybody else. I
Yeah.
cannot talk to them right now. I need to get my blood pressure under control because now I'm really freaking out.
Yeah. So like you got to be focused on yourself right now.
I
to
needed
really,
to chill.
Yeah.
I needed to chill because I needed to control that. Like now I'm into fighting for my baby mode.
Yeah.
So They wheel me from the doctor's office to the hospital. They get me, and I don't have anything.
Nothing. And you have a bag. You hadn't made your bag yet, or did you make your bag?
Nothing. I was 26 weeks pregnant. I wasn't even really showing yet.
Oh my goodness.
I had nothing.
And so you show up in just your work outfit, like you're ready to go into the air.
I was in my work uniform.
You're ready. Welcome to Hobby Airport. I'm here. This is the incident. I have my report. I'm documenting my own report right now.
Oh my goodness. So they wheel me into the hospital. I get admitted, and he's like, I think I can get your blood pressure to go down tonight, and I definitely need to, give you the steroid shots before I, deliver the baby. Of course, it was going to be a C-section.
And at this time, are you trying to get them to, like, is there anything, are you like, wait a minute, do we have to have the baby right now? Is it just because
there was
of this?
no choice.
No choice.
There's no choice. The only way to get rid of to make my blood pressure go back down to normal was to have the baby.
Oh, shoot.
Have the baby. And my body was already starting to, go into toxic mode. Yeah. Then your kidneys shut down.
Yes.
Then your organs basically start shutting down, and my body was already showing in the blood work that it was starting to follow those processes. Yeah. Alfonso finally shows up. He's worried for me, worried for Miguel, like just worried in general. My mom is a worrywart. She suffers from high blood pressure, so we're trying to like keep her in check too. So
yeah.
Like, it was just a lot. So apparently I was having contractions. I couldn't even feel those. I didn't know what was going on. So he gets the steroid shots, and the next morning they deliver him by C-section. And then, you know how they bring the baby over? Did she have a natural?
No, she had C-section. So we tried natural for a while, but it wasn't happening. And so we ended up having to do C-section.
Yeah. So, you have the sheet. And then after the baby, they get the baby cleaned up. They bring him over.
Yes. Yeah.
Alfonso, bless his heart, he was trying to give me the play-by-play of everything that was going on. And I'm like, no, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, you enjoy the experience. Don't give me the play-by-play. I was just, I don't want to die at this point.
Yeah, because you're worried about that.
I don't want him to die. So I'm like, just let me sit here and just, yeah. And so they showed him to us, and then they cart him off. He weighed 1 pound, 12 ounces,
1 pound.
1 pound, 12 ounces. And, we get this little itty bitty glimpse of him, and then he's gone. So they're finishing up with me, and they take Alfonso with the baby. So after I don't know, whenever they were able to, wheel me away, they take me to him, and then they show me his, his hand.
Okay.
So he has amniotic band syndrome, and apparently at some point he got caught in the bands that are in utero, the amniotic bands. I guess they're like rubber bands, and they can tend to break off. And so they wrapped around his left hand, and so he's missing his index finger, his middle finger, and his ring finger from his left hand. He only has his thumb and his pinky. So they showed that to us, and in hindsight, I think that's what they were seeing in the first trimester scaring, that he was probably wrapped up in those already, and they didn't figure it.
Yeah.
So not only was he born premature at 26 weeks, he only weighed 1 pound, 12 ounces in this emergency state situation. Now he's got missing digits on his left hand, and he's gonna be in the NICU for who knows how long.
And with that, we're going to take a break. All right, guys, we are back. So we just ended with Miguel being rushed away in the NICU, and he had, what was the band syndrome?
Amniotic band syndrome.
Amniotic band syndrome. And so he lost a couple of digits inside the womb. And what goes on from there?
So what goes on from there? I get carted off to the ICU unit because now I'm on stroke watch because my blood pressure is still uncontrollably high, and I'm still inflamed and blown up like a balloon. So they're making sure that I don't have a stroke And so I'm over there.
Are you aware of this time? Are you still out of it from the medication and having the C-section? Or are you?
No, I think I was pretty much aware the whole time. I was, trying to keep it together as much as possible because, again, I was trying to do my best to get my blood pressure.
Yeah.
I didn't know why my blood pressure was high. I didn't know what was going on. And so I was just trying to keep it as calm and collected as I possibly could. At some point during the night, my vein got, the IVs that were in there, the vein got kind of like, I guess it leaked, but it was leaking, the IV fluids were leaking like within inside my arm, and it was it was burning. And so I told Alfonso was like not going to leave my side.
Yeah.
Like they were trying to kick him out and he was like, no.
Yeah, I'm going to stay here overnight.
I'm not going to stay here. And, he's a paramedic, so he has some medical knowledge. So he knew what was going on the minute I pointed out my arm. So they came in and they put these warm compresses on my arm to I guess, dissipate what had leaked into my arm. And so I don't know the medical terminology, and
that's
sorry.
Fine. That's fine.
I'm explaining it the best way I know how. But do you see these marks here on my arm?
Yes.
I got burned with they supposed to be warm compresses, right? Well, they were hot compresses.
Oh my gosh!
That they put on my arms, and they actually burned my arm.
From the thing they were trying to help you from?
To try to help dissipate the stuff that had leaked in my arm from the IVs. Yeah.
Let's help her out.
So,
we burned her.
I'm telling you, like, it's like a Murphy's Law. Like, if it's going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong. And I've tried, within the years, I've tried to get out of that mindset because it kind of, like, you kind of tend to believe it. Like, okay, something's going to go wrong here because God forbid have it go right, like, but I've had to change that throughout the years. Like, okay, like, so this went wrong too. And so poor Alfonso, man, like I feel for him because I'm freaking out for not even myself. I'm freaking out for Miguel, but he's freaking out for Miguel and he's freaking out for me. Like it wasn't easy. Yeah. So finally I get discharged from the ICU. My blood pressure is still not back to where it's supposed to be, even after, even after them delivering the baby. Stuff. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So my body's still trying to fight itself. And so I can't be discharged, right? Mm-hmm. So now I get taken upstairs to another room. At this point, I still haven't even been able to see Miguel. Like, he's probably like 3 days old by this point, and he still hasn't been on you, like skin to skin. I still haven't been able to see him.
Dang.
Or anything. So it wasn't until I got taken up into a private room that I was actually like, he told me the OBGYN, he's like, this is now not something I'm gonna handle. I can't handle this anymore. I'm an OBGYN. I do the baby and the delivery, and after that
That's it. That's my only step.
Right. Like so I got assigned to a different doctor, just, a regular MD to try to manage my blood pressure. I think I was there for like maybe a week and a half with them still trying to control my blood pressure.
And my
blood pressure would not go back to normal. It was just stuck high.
And the whole time you haven't seen Miguel?
No, I was able to finally start going to see him, and he was literally, they would wheelchair me down the hall to go see him, and I was in there all the time. They would have to kick me out.
Okay.
So, by that point, we weren't able to do skin to skin or any of that for a while because he was so little and, so fragile. He was under the Billy lights and, they were doing everything. He was hooked up to a whole bunch of things. They were doing everything that they could for him. He was there for 4 months.
4 months?
4 months. He was in the NICU for 4 months, and I was finally discharged, like after a week and a half of dealing with, I started taking meds at home instead of being hooked up to the IV. And
so there's like, again, Murphy's Law. You said like you had 26 weeks. The baby's here. Baby's a premature baby, so now he's getting all these other helps, and then you are almost having a stroke, and you were there for, you said 2 weeks at least?
Almost like a week and a half to almost 2 weeks. It just took forever for my blood pressure to go down. And when they finally let me go home, they let me go home because it was still high, but not
high
enough to where I was going to have a stroke.
So then that happens. And then after that, you go back to the hospital because your son's there for the next 4 months. And
yeah, he never came home. I went home. He didn't go home.
And so what was those next 4 months like? What was life like?
So of course, I didn't go back to work. I had worked at the airport for 11 years by this point.
Oh, wow. And you said you had a business degree or something?
Yeah, I have a business administration degree with a concentration in management. And so I had worked there for a while, and, I'm very responsible. I didn't have any reason to take off. So I had a lot of sick time accumulated. Mm-hmm. And I was able to not have to go back to work for those 4 months.
Oh, wow. So you had that much time saved?
I had that much time saved.
That's great. That is great.
Plus, I still had my maternity leave. Plus, they had to cut me a check when I finally did decide to resign, because that's how much time I had. So if you don't have to call in sick, don't call in sick. Save that time.
Oh, wow.
Because at some point, you're going to want it, or you're going to need to use it.
But, yeah. I mean, they don't even... I mean, our job doesn't pay us if we don't use them, which is not even an incentive. Because I think if you get paid for what you don't use, it's more of an incentive to not
miss.
Yeah, but if I'm not going to get paid for it, well, then I'll miss my days, because
you're going to use your days. Because if it's use them or lose them, of course you're going to use them. But so my day to day during the time that he was in the NICU, I would get up in the morning. I would pump, get dressed. I would go to the hospital, and I would spend my whole day there. Yeah. And they would have to kick me out at around 11. And
so what were you doing while you were there? Were you like reading to him? Like, were you just being there, just watching?
Just being there. I was basically doing the roles that the nurses would do. Like, as much as they would let me do, I would do myself for him. Moving him around, changing his diaper, giving him his bath. I would have to pump, of course, while I was there. Because what they do is they use they use your breast milk to, like, create some sort of formula to feed it through the tube.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know they did that.
Yeah. So he still gets, like, the benefits of the breast milk, even though he can't latch on. Oh, man. Yeah. Tiny itty bitty little thing. He was considered they call him micro preemie because he was so
even
tiny.
Smaller than a normal premature baby. Oh my God.
Well, so imagine 26 weeks. He wasn't like he was fully developed, but not.
What is that? And those crazy calendars that's like, your baby looks like this right now. Your baby's the size of this.
Yeah. Itty bitty little thing. So 4 months in the NICU, I felt like I needed some help to cope. So I started going to the parent groups that they had available at the hospital. So
I Googled it because I wanted to know what the size of it. Apparently it's a zucchini. So those of you out there wondering, I guess, because for me, but I needed to see, I guess, visually what the size of the child is. 26 weeks, he was the size of a zucchini. Jesus. Yeah. So you start going to these parent groups, and what is that like? I'm assuming it's a bunch of parents that are getting together that might have different traumas.
No, they're all parents with the kids in the NICU at the same time as your kids. So you bond these friendships with these other women that are going through the same thing that you're in. And I have maybe 2 or 3 that I still keep in touch with, and because they were all, their kids were all in the same pod as Miguel, and
it's like a weird kind of high school class gathering.
Yeah,
you end up making a bond.
Yeah, you make a bond because you're going through the same thing, and it's not a thing that everybody goes through. And,
no, it's not.
We're all there with our, premature babies, and each baby has something different going on. Like, there's so many complications that could go on. Like, I remember the first night that I got, an admin into the, brought into my room. He came in, he's like, oh, the neonatologist is going to come in and she's going to talk to you. And she was just throwing all sorts of percentages at us that didn't really mean anything. Like, all I want to know is my baby going to make it? Like, you're throwing all these numbers at me and they don't mean anything. Is my baby going to make it? That's all I want to know. But she couldn't answer that.
Yeah, they just want to cover all their bases. Yeah. Here's the math behind it. But
what? After he was born and after I saw him, I knew he was going to make it. Mm-hmm. I just knew in my heart that he was going to make it. And he did get very sick while we were there. But I just knew. I didn't have one doubt that that baby wasn't going to come out of that hospital. However long it took, I knew that he was going to come home with us.
That's that mother's intuition right there, right? Like you, and he's, you know, obviously he's what? How old is he now?
He's 9.
He's 9. So, you make it out in 4 months, and how big is he? Like, how many pounds, or how big is he by the time you're able to get it out after those 4 months? Like, you know,
they wouldn't let him come home till he reached what he was supposed to, you know, at birth weight, like, you know, 6 to 7 pounds, 8 pounds. And then the other requirement was for him to be able to feed, you know, for him to be able to have you know, bottles for him to be able to tolerate and latch and take on a bottle.
Oh man.
So, well, it was getting closer, you know, for him to be able to get discharged. They started doing all these things. He has to be able to tolerate a car seat, and you know, so
they have like an actual car seat, or do they have you bring yours in?
No, they bring yours in, and Child Life's in charge of doing like this car seat test, and he has to pass. Meanwhile, he's like still hooked up to monitors and stuff.
Put him into the car seat with all these monitors?
Yeah, they put him in the car seat with all the monitors, and they make sure that he can, you know, tolerate being in there. Like, I don't know how long it was. The time that they administered, I was somewhere else. I think I was at an appointment for me, and I missed when they did the car seat test. But yeah, you have to take in your car seat, and he has to sit in there and be able to tolerate it for a certain amount of time. Yeah. And then the bottle, man.
So like each little quiz, or not quiz, each little test, you're like, yes.
Yeah, they're major milestones. They may seem like nothing to other people. Like you know, you sit your kid in the car seat every day and you don't think anything of it, right? Yeah. But when it depends on him being able to come home, it becomes a really big deal. Same thing with that bottle. So for the bottle, they kind of told us that, you know, they kind of prepped us for the worst.
Okay.
Like, we don't see that he has a good sucking motion in his mouth. We feel like the muscles around his mouth are kind of weak. We're going to try it, but we don't think he's going to be successful. And so I'm like, oh my God, you know, like this baby needs to take this bottle so we can take him home. And like, come on, Miguel, you can do it.
Is that like one of the last ones that?
It's one of the last steps. Yeah.
So it's like because, what, 3.5 months in already?
Because taking the feeding tube out is one of the last things that they do. Right?
Man, that's right. Because he's, as a premature, he has a feeding tube in him, right? Man, that's got to be intense to see.
So I was like, come on, Miguel, you have to take this bottle. You can do it. And I'm sitting over here praying. And I was like, come on. So I'm not able to give him the first bottle. The therapist has to do it, right? So she's got her gloved hand and she's got the bottle and everything. And as soon as she puts it close to his mouth, he even like went to grab it. Like, and that baby took that bottle like a champ. Like, Miguel sucked that bottle, and Alfonso and I over here, like,
crying, like, bawling. Because you're right on the outside, right? And watching?
No, we're in the room.
Oh, you're in the room? Okay.
Yeah, we're in the room with him. And so, but, you know, they prepped us for the worst. Like, we thought he wasn't going to, you know, he was going to avoid it or not want it at all. He sucked that bottle down in, like, record time. And it was, like, it was a really proud moment. Like, again, people don't think twice about giving their kid a bottle. Yeah. But it was when you know, him being able to come home, rode on him, being able to take this bottle, it became something mega important. So, oh my God, he took that bottle and we were like, yes, one more check. Like, every time he accomplished something, it was like, yes, one more step closer to getting him home. And so we were finally able to get him home. He did come home with the monitor still, with a heart rate monitor. He was the king of stopping his breathing.
What do you mean?
He would stop breathing. Like he would, I don't know, something was not clicking right or something was not triggering right. And he would just stop breathing. So they would have to go and
pat him
or get him and tell him, you know, like get him going again. And so he did that a lot. It's called apnea episodes. You know?
Oh my goodness. So
bradycardia and apnea episodes. Yeah.
And that's just something, again, from a symptom of being premature. And so I'm guessing you're already like, and that's something they prepared you for.
No, like every time like the machines would go off, you kind of get trained while you're there. So you already know. And shout out to Texas Women's Hospital. Those nurses, they're awesome. I mean, And shout out to the March of Dimes for their program that they have there too. It's amazing. Like, if you're going to have your kid and you already know that you might be high risk, go there.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. It's great. And so those nurses were wonderful to us. They would explain everything to us, the doctors too. I cannot say anything bad about that place. They took great care of us, me included. And so I lost my
train of thought too.
Yeah.
But
so we got him home.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And
so
he still came home with monitors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has this sleep apnea. He stops breathing.
Yeah.
And so you've already been trained on how to get him back to breathe. And you're thinking when you come home, you're like, oh, I can kind of breathe. And now it's like, crap. Now I got to make sure.
Now we're going to be on our own. And whenever this machines decide to go off, but he made them maybe go. They probably went off once or twice, and it wasn't him. It was like either it became unhooked or the machine was like running low on, battery or, not because he was stopped breathing. So when we got him home, he was pretty much, he was doing really well. So because he was being born so premature, we qualified for what's called ECI, Early Childhood Intervention. And it's like Easter seals, and they come home and they offer therapy. Like, they come to your house and they help you out with trying to see how the baby is doing developmentally. So,
and this is like because you qualified for that program, like, so these people came and just kind of taught you things, or like kind of just checked on the kid and just seeing what they were doing?
They were checking to see how he was doing developmentally. So if they did have a raised flag, if any flags were raised, you would know about it. Okay. And then they could offer the therapy to try to adjust.
Wow.
So, he was late talking. He was late walking. And we would have a speech therapist come out from ECI and just a regular therapist come out. I guess she was occupational therapist. And she would teach him like how to maneuver with that. And he was missing the fingers in his hand too. Yeah. And how to maneuver his toys and different things. So, but they basically just came out and played with him. And, that's developmentally appropriate for a kid,
And so, this was at what age though?
They started coming out probably when he was 10, 12 months. Okay. Like around a year.
So I wanted to go back to the hospital bill. Because, you were in the hospital. The audience has heard you were in the hospital yourself for like almost 2 weeks. Yeah. The baby was in there for 4 months. You go to the emergency room, and the trip of the ambulance is already $1,000. You get to the emergency room, you got to pay $500 to get in, and then you get a bill of like $5,000 because you had an asprin. So it's crazy. It's crazy. I can't imagine a bill for 4 months. So what was that like?
For mine, it wasn't too bad. I paid my $100 copay, and for the care for me.
Yes.
Yeah. We work. Our insurance is through the city of Houston. With the HFD. And so when we got Miguel's bill,
because it comes under his own name now.
Yes, it's Miguel's bill. I hadn't known, nobody told me that I had to, file for what they call SSI, to where they handle that. So the bill got to our house, and it was a $2 million $2 million bill. Yes.
Oh my goodness. And that's for
so
4
I
months.
opened the bill, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like just frozen. Like, I don't even know. And I was like, Alfonso, we got the bill for the hospital. And he's like, oh, it's okay. We'll get it paid. And I'm like, no, we got the bill from the hospital. He's like, no, babe, it's okay. We'll do what I have to do. If I have to get a third job, it's okay. We'll get it taken care of. And I was like, there is no way we can ever pay this in our lifetime. And he's like, why? How much is it? And I'm like, it's $2 million. He's like, what do we do? And I'm like, I don't know. So I talked to the coordinator. I had formed a pretty close relationship to the lady from the March of Dimes.
Everybody
yeah, because I had been there for 4 months.
You were clocking in and clocking out.
Yeah, and I was there all the time. They almost had to kick me out on a nightly basis.
Like, you want a locker for the to put your things
do you
in?
want us to give you a bed? So I called her up and I was like, we got a bill and it's pretty substantial. I don't know how to even begin to tackle this. Do you, can you guide me in the right direction? And, she's like, no, just bring the bill and bring it here to the offices at the hospital and turn it in and don't worry about it. It'll be taken care of. And long and behold, that's what I did. And it was. So I guess the state has a program that takes care of those types of things. And I don't know that.
Yeah.
The ins and outs of it. All I know is that I did not have to pay $2 million for my baby.
I mean, it's great that programs like that exist, because if people got weighed down like that, because think about it, you're just having a baby. Like it's a natural thing. It's a natural thing of if you're going to have a family, it's the next stage of life. And how do you get strapped $2 million if something goes wrong? It's incredible.
Like there is no way we would be able to pay that. No way. $2 million.
That is a lot of money. $2 million. And then
I'm like, am I counting these zeros right? Is that right?
You're sitting there and there's how many commas in a million? There's how many
he's like,
zeros?
No, you're definitely right.
Oh, I can't imagine.
He took a picture of it. We still have it somewhere because he can it's like shocking.
Sorry about that. So
no,
I mean, so now that happens, now you're going through the occupational therapy, and all these people are coming to help and check on your son in 10 months. And by the time he's 10 months, he basically would have only been real 3 months, like technically, if he was born. Like that's crazy to think about.
And he was already, developmentally behind because he was born.
Yeah.
Too early, way too early. And so, we're trying to do our best with him during that time, and I decided to stay home. Okay. I resigned my job at the airport, and I decided to stay home because he needs me.
Yes,
he needs me. We budget out our plan, and I was like, can we logistically do it with just your one income to where I can just stay home with him? And he's like, well, I did it when I was single. He's like, if you're gonna be at home and we're not gonna have too many extra expenses, I can do it. We can do it. Yeah. And so that's the decision we made, because that was the decision that was right for our family at the time. So I stayed with Miguel the first 4 years. When we went to our 4-year well check, and the doctor started going through all the developmental milestones checklist that they do, we were answering no to a lot of them.
Uh-oh. And he's already 4, you said.
And he was 4. Yeah. Well, just turned 4.
Yeah.
And so
what are some of the things that he wasn't doing? That do you remember specifically, or you just remember it was a lot of no's?
It was a lot of no's. Almost everything that he was supposed to be doing, and we didn't know any different. He was our, our only baby, so we didn't have anything to compare it to. So his doctor's wonderful pediatrician. She's awesome. We love Dr. Cutler. She was like, he was born so premature. He had all these, apnea episodes. He's like, I'm sensing that something's not right. A red flag is being raised here. I think you should get him evaluated to see if he's autistic.
And that's okay. And that's already where. And like, how did you feel at that moment whenever you got told that? Because sometimes being told that as a parent can be pretty tough for us to handle,
especially when you didn't suspect anything. Like, we thought he wasn't doing the things that he wasn't doing because of him being so premature.
True. So and that's all you were worried about. You weren't worried about anything else. But not that it's bad or anything. You're just the shock of the news, right?
The shock of the news. And so she's like, I'm gonna refer you to this doctor. He's gonna do an evaluation, and then we'll see what he says, and then we'll take it from there. So we take him for the evaluation, and long and behold, Miguel, he's pretty much textbook on the spectrum.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He's like, I wasn't able to do a lot of the tests, but just by observing him and just from my years of experience, he's definitely on the spectrum. So he has like a lot of behavior that is very repetitive. Mm-hmm. He likes for you to repeat the things that he says.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to think like more of the things that he the things that he does that are, more autistic behaviors.
No, yeah.
More recognizable or seen, but that's his main one. The ecophilia, it's called. He has the extreme picky eating, where textures, and he has like the sensory issues.
Yes.
Where
certain foods just
it's only certain foods, and it can't be anything outside of those certain foods. And
is it like
don't even offer them to me because I'm going to gag.
And that's one of those like again on the spectrum things where it's 10 foods I eat. I don't need any more.
It's a mental block. You can give him something and be like, try this. It's really yummy. You're going to like it. Just give it a try. And it's like,
nope, that's it. Wow, that's
and he literally like, you should try. You should see it. It's like, it's very difficult for him. Like it's a process. He has to touch it to his lip and kind of smell it, and then if this doesn't offer the the feeling that he's looking for, he'll gag.
Wow.
He'll gag.
So like in its textures of the food, right? Like it's not necessarily the foods themselves. It might be just the way they feel.
I haven't been able to exactly pinpoint. Like I do a lot of trial and error, but I haven't exactly pinpointed what it is, because like he loves toast, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of crunchy. It's kind of, crispy, right?
Yes.
After it's been toasted. But he also loves tortillas, and that's soft and
that's true. So it might not be a texture.
So I can't tell, and then he can't communicate. Like he communicates, right? But he can't really tell me
verbatim stuff like that.
Like in detail, like I like this better than this because of this. Or I won't try this because of this. Like he can't verbalize that. So I do a lot of trial and error testing out. Okay, let's see what
and even
works,
now
and
at
let's see
9,
what doesn't work.
It's still like that.
And that's with everything.
Oh wow.
With everything has to be like trial and error. Let's see if this works, and let's see if it doesn't.
So going back to when the doctor told you that he might be on the spectrum, or that he was on the spectrum, knowing how you are as a planner, like, and when you think with such forethought, what did you do from there? Like, did you start looking into like different places to take him to get like service or anything, or what happened from there?
So he suggested ABA therapy, or it's applied behavioral. They kind of help them to manage what they're feeling, right?
Yeah.
And how to do things, like how to dress themselves, feed themselves,
yeah.
So, aside from other things. But we did started taking him, and then we were taking him, the insurance was covering it, and then at some point something changed with the insurance, and they stopped covering it. And then it became where we'd have to pay a copay every time we went. It's $65 every time we went. They wanted us to take him multiple times during the week, and when you do the math, it really adds up.
It does add up. So you're spending you could easily spend like $800.
Yeah, it could easily be another car note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A month taking this stuff for your son, and I mean that's a huge financial burden that gets put on you. Just for your son being born and just the circumstances and stuff like that, and that's tough.
And then we make too much money to receive any kind of assistance, and then we don't make enough to afford it. So.
Yeah, you're either broke enough, you're either too broke to afford everything.
You're not rich, but you're not poor.
Yeah, or
so
you're
too
stuck. Rich, so you're just in the middle, in the middle.
Yeah, figure it out on your own.
And so you've named a couple already, but like, what other challenges have you had to face with him? Like, so you were talking about the throat issue. Like, can you tell the audience a little bit about that? And this is just one glimpse into.
Yeah, so
when
he left the NICU, he has acid reflux. They call it GERD. It's like one
GERD?
of the
That's an interesting word.
It's like one of the common things that premature babies have.
Yeah.
Normally, and we were told, he's gonna grow out of it. So we came home with this wedge pillow. It's
to like sit him up kind of thing.
Yeah, so he would sleep at an incline, so the acid wouldn't have the opportunity to come up.
Yeah.
Well, he outgrew of that wedge pillow, and we assumed that he was better, but he wasn't. He was still having the acid reflux. So the acid is,
and it's not like he can communicate that, right? Like, is that it's really difficult even now for him to still communicate certain things.
Like, there would be at times where we could kind of hear him, and he would wake up like. I would hear him through the monitor, and when I would go check on him, he would have stuff coming out his nose.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like, what is this? And we brought it up to the doctor, and she's like, this happens often. He's going to grow out of it. Don't worry about it. He didn't grow out of it.
And he's now 10.
He's 9.
9, sorry.
Yeah. So the acid has caused damage to his esophagus, and so now his esophagus it's not the normal size. It's not the size that it's supposed to be. It's inflamed. So it got to the point where he wasn't able to keep or get food down past his esophagus.
So like we'll say the esophagus is maybe a dime size, right? And his went down to like a pea.
He wasn't, when they scoped him, he wasn't even passing down the infant size scope.
Wow.
So he was really plugged up. So I had to change him for a liquid diet
for a while,
for a little bit, till
prior to finding this stuff out, or right after you found it out?
It was after, because we took him in initially when we started noticing that he was having to go and throw up everything that he was eating, or spitting it up, you know? Or it was like he felt like it was not going, it wasn't like, I guess it was going down, but it was giving him that gag reflex to where he felt like he needed to go spit up, because he wasn't throwing up. It was like just like clear mucousy stuff coming up.
That's interesting and weird at the same time.
Yes, and it was every time after he would eat, and of course he's eating like
very
starchy stuff, like nothing healthy, because he won't eat healthy things. And it
was hard for him, right? Like you said, it's every new food it's got to pass his certain set of tests that he likes.
Exactly. And he won't do it. And then everything I read tells me not to force it, because this is like an activity of daily life, and it shouldn't be associated with a stressful situation, right?
Yeah.
So like if you sit there and force a kid, it's like me with that milk. Like,
that's true. That's true.
Like, you're gonna
never want to drink it or eat it again. That's true.
Exactly. Like it happens in general. If you're gonna associate an activity of daily life with a not negative thing, you're not gonna want to do it.
That's true.
And if he already has an aversion to textures and food in general, and I make it worse by pressuring him or stressing him or forcing him, then
it's not gonna end well, and you're causing your own pain too in the same part.
We're all gonna just be miserable.
So that happens. You go to the doctor, and so how many? You said you had surgery. So how many surgeries has he had now?
Endoscopy.
And
so they've had to stretch out his esophagus back to size by inserting this balloon and stretching it out. And every time now with COVID, every time he has a procedure, he has to have a negative COVID test before we go in. And Texas Children's has this rule where only one of us can go in.
Yes, and I think that's a lot of hospitals right now.
And that's not us.
You're always a team, like you said. It's a team.
Yeah, we are a team effort. I'm the logical one. I know how to talk to Miguel. I know how to communicate with him, and Alfonso's the muscle.
Yeah.
Not that he's rough with him or anything, but if he needs to be carried out because he's sedated, he's the one that does it. I can't carry Miguel anymore. Like Alfonso has to do that. So it has to be the both of us.
Yeah. It's a team, and you got to get in there.
And it's not fair to make us have to choose who's going to go in when we're both equally invested. We are the yin and the yang to him. Like he needs us both. So we both go in there, and I'm sorry. We're both going in.
Yeah.
And so we both go in. But so he has to have a negative COVID test. So he's been tested like 4 times now. It's going to be the fifth time next week.
And then he's already had 4 of those stents put in and balloons put in, rather.
Yeah.
And
but
so
they put the balloon, they stretch it, and they stretch it to, like once and, 1 millimeter at a time. I don't know the technical stuff. All I know is that they're stretching it back to normal size a little bit at a time each time that they go in. And they're also doing biopsies when they go in.
Testing it.
Yeah. So the last couple biopsies are showing that he's starting to get stomach cells from his stomach growing into his lower intestine, and then at some point that could turn cancerous. It's got a name. I think it's Barrett's syndrome or something like that. So they offered us the surgery to stop the acid from being able to come up. Mm-hmm. That's an extremely invasive surgery, and entails twisting, the esophagus with, the stomach, and, he won't ever be able to throw up if he needs to throw up.
If he has that surgery?
Yes. And so my husband and I were talking, and I was like, like, what if he gets food poisoning? Like, so those would be like automatic visits to the emergency room.
Wow. And because that acid might not stop.
Exactly. So we're treating a what if by changing the anatomy, and we're still at a what if scenario, right?
Yeah.
So we talked to the surgeon, and we're like, look, we're at this point. He's getting treated with medicine. We feel like he has the potential of getting better with the medicine. And if we go the surgery route, it's still not 100%. If we keep taking the medicine route, it's still not 100%. So
what do we do?
What do we do? And he's like, I would stick with the medicine route for now. This was the surgeon telling us. He's like, sorry.
That's fine.
He's like, I wouldn't do it for my own kid.
That's scary.
Like, I would wait.
Yeah. That is scary. Yeah. And so, I mean, you've gone, and then again, you have your son, and from day one, it's like something's happening. Like you said, Murphy's Law, and it keeps extending. Murphy's Law is still here, and we're just really hoping, can Murphy leave now? Like, can Murphy leave and take a break?
Like
something?
Even me trying to consciously change my mindset from that and saying, okay, I'm not Murphy's Law anymore. Something's gonna go right. But looking at the big picture, Miguel's here.
Yes.
It could have been worse. He's here. And he's active, and and we love him, and we do everything that we can for him. Yes. And Alfonso and I are a strong couple, and I think he got the right set of parents.
Yes. I mean, think about it. All this stuff that you're listing, you're saying in such a normal manner. Like, these are things that are each little thing you said could be a life defining moment. I mean, obviously, born at 26 weeks. You're born missing digits on your left hand. He
wants to be left-handed to top it off.
And so then, he wants to be left-handed with two fingers.
With the pinky and the thumb.
And then he wants...
But he can do whatever he wants to do with the left hand, he does.
And it hasn't hindered him thanks to that therapy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so then you find later that he's autistic. And so then there's everyday trials with that, right? Just the normal day-to-day stuff gets harder because of all the things that come along with the child on the spectrum. And then every child on the spectrum is different too. So it's kind of hard to be like, all right, well, have you ever gone to like a support group or anything like that for kids with autism?
I did we were struggling with potty training for a long time. The feeding has been like, that always weighs heavy in my heart, because I feel like, I don't know if he's being, I don't know if he's malnourished or not, because he's not, like, we started implementing, like, you saw the green liquid that I was drinking the other day? We started implementing that to make sure he gets the grains. To make sure that he's getting stuff with nutritional value in there. So we kind of have to, like, I play a game with him now to where I'm injecting, nutrients in him because he's not getting them from eating food. Yeah. And not injecting them in his skin. It's not that type of injecting. Yeah. I draw it up with a big syringe, and I syringe it into his mouth. It's like I'm feeding a baby bird. Yeah. And
that's okay, but you got to
But those types of moments too, they bring us in even closer.
Exactly.
Because he thinks it's I make it fun.
And you create that intimacy that we all look for with our kids. But you just have to create it in a different way because, well, that's the challenge that we have as parents. Every child is different, right? And every child's different, whether they're on the spectrum or not. And it could be difficult. Who knows? Who knows if Sebastian will have to have that one day because he's just being a stickler for food.
So U of H, Clear Lake, they have the ABA program. They teach people. They train people on, they certify people in the ABA program, and they have I think like instructional series, like of different seminars that you can go to. And so the ones that apply to the situations that I'm experiencing with Miguel, I attend those.
So that's how you get, you go outside for help. Basically, that's what I was kind of asking.
And
like,
those are free, and they're handy. Like, I'm getting a lot of techniques and stuff that I can try to see if I can work with him, or if it works, if it doesn't work. And so I'm getting a lot of things that I probably wouldn't think of on my own or read about on my own without going to these sessions.
So having a child with autism and on the spectrum, what challenges have you faced, like, with having that with the child on the spectrum, basically? Like, what other challenges have you faced?
Like I said, he's our only one, so
Yeah.
I just know that I just, have to figure things out the way that they are going to work for him. Like, sometimes I feel bad because when I compare him to other, kids that are his same age, and I see the things that they can accomplish and the things that Miguel hasn't accomplished yet. I'm not saying that he's not going to accomplish them.
The power of
He's
yet,
just,
right?
Right. He just hasn't accomplished them yet. Because I don't hinder him, and I don't want to hinder him. He's always done things at his own time.
True.
And he will continue to always do things at his own time. And I've stopped comparing.
Yes.
Because I can't compare anymore. And I just have to trial and error with him the way it's going to work for him.
And so I guess that kind of leads me to my next question, which is, what has it taught you so far?
Perseverance. I mean, I was a pretty gung-ho person before, but now even more so. I've had to let go of my organizational ways a little bit, because if not, I'm going to go crazy, but I've really become good at experimenting and trying different things. And, okay, that didn't work. Let's try this.
Yes.
And the power of choice for him it's great. Like, okay, I want you to get dressed. Do you want to you need to put on your pants. Do you want to use your left leg first or your right leg first?
Even down to just something simple like that.
As long as I'm getting those pants on and he feels like he has a decision in the matter, I'm getting the pants on.
That's true.
And he's making the choice as to which leg goes in first, right? So that works for him. Then the just modifying little things here and there. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
But just what has he taught you? And that's a hard question to answer, right? But I think that what you said will suffice. I mean, it's a different thing. It's an ongoing thing. There's a never dull moment. I'm assuming there's every normal, anything you would associate with normal could be a challenge, but you present it in a way and you've learned with it and grown with it. And, it's great.
Adjust.
Yes. And that might be the main thing that he has taught you, just adjusting and being okay with the adjustments and making peace with it. And knowing that he's going to develop at his own pace and letting go, like you said, letting go of the comparing, and any moment that stands out that either you were spending time teaching him something and then it finally clicked, or seeing a light bulb go off, or any kind of special moment that comes to mind with him. Well,
the potty training, like I said, we really struggled with that, and it's apparently an autism thing, and not so much with number 1 but with number 2, and I'm not really sure why, but I tried everything.
There's a lot of people that don't like using public restrooms, so I'm sure that
and I'm one of them. Like,
so I don't think it's a bad thing, but I mean, I haven't gotten to potty training yet, so I don't know exactly what that entails. I'm gonna probably have to watch a couple videos or something, just kind of learn.
I skipped the potty altogether because I was trying to streamline it as most as possible, right?
Yeah.
So when I started potty training him, I went straight to the toilet.
Nothing.
I didn't even buy a potty. I did straight toilet. Like, I bought him a stand to where he could climb onto the toilet.
Yeah.
And I did have a special seat that you can attach to the seat.
That's like kid size?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
so that it just makes the opening a little bit smaller, so he wasn't going to feel like he was falling in. And then when you go as an adult, you can lift that part up. It's like a second seat. They have it at Home Depot. They're not hard to find.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So for when you get ready.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and then that way, he's already trained once already, because that's double training, right?
Yeah, it's true if you think about it.
Training in the potty and then training in the toilet. I was like, why am I'm going to just cut the middleman, go straight to the source. Plus one less thing I have to clean, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's what I was just thinking right now. Where does that go?
Yeah, you have to empty it into the toilet and flush it. Nasty. Yeah.
So it struggled. And I mean, describe the struggle to the audience. What was the struggle like?
So the number one, like I said, he picked that up right away. Like he felt the urgency. He would run himself and go in there. Number two, he struggled. And so, with his diet being the way it is, he struggles with constipation. That's like another battle, right? He struggles with constipation.
Yeah.
And so we just, we're like on a Miralax regimen sometimes to get him to get moving and stuff. So I think he associates going to the bathroom for number two with a little bit of pain, because sometimes it's really hard for him to pass it.
And again, it's not like he can just go and communicate. And Mom, this is what I'm feeling.
Yeah. There's, he doesn't tell me, like, we only know because I'm like, oh, he didn't go yesterday. And, he went the day before, but it was probably just a little bit like, like I kind of have to keep track and watch what he does. So I know what's going on and I know when I have to medicate it, because I can't give him the Miralax every day, because if I give him the Miralax every day, he's going to always have diarrhea.
That's true.
So it has to be something that kind of has to be
a normal
like measured and like regulated basically. So that's another struggle. So he was having the issues with going to number two, and I was like, okay, we got to do it. So I started researching and reading, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just try some sort of incentive
style,
like incentive, yeah. So I took a bunch of quarters from, we have like a change, a change spot. So I took a bunch of quarters and I made like one of the old wipe boxes and I put stickers on it. I decorated it and I made it kind of cool. And I took one of those little drink containers that had the Cars characters on it.
Yes.
And one with Hot Wheels cars on it, because that's what he likes. And I filled those up with quarters. And so if he went number one, he would get to put 1 quarter into the box for going number one. And if he went number two in the toilet, following all his potty steps, because it has to be really structured with them, step 1, step 2, step 3, all the potty steps. And going to the potty is a lot of steps.
So wait a minute. So let's break that down, because this is one of those steps that you take for granted as a parent, and you don't really think about. I have to think in steps. This is exactly, and then not just, I get it, we all do the steps and then we kind of learn the steps normal. And they're there and they're just part of it. But this is step 1. So break down kind of how you've had to teach him to use the
so
steps.
I have a visual potty chart in our bathroom, like it's in there. And, step 1, step 2, step 3, going through the steps of, going potty. And so, the incentive was, if you do all your steps, down to washing your hands, that's a part of the steps, you get your 2 coins into, your little box.
Yeah.
At the end of the week, with however much money you have in your box, we'll go get a toy.
So you're incentivizing him to go poop, basically, in a way?
Yes, and it worked.
It worked?
It worked.
All right, parents out there. This sounds like a trick that will work for any kid. I promise you, I would probably try this with my son. Because, for one, you're teaching him money. And you're teaching him how to count the money. You're teaching him responsibility with using that money to purchase something and teaching him to save all that stuff.
Yeah.
But you got him to
work.
Yes.
Granted, by the end of the week, the money didn't amount to the kind of toy that he picked.
Yeah, of course.
But in either case, that's a celebration, and he earned whatever toy he picked.
Exactly. But that worked, and that must.
Yes.
The
so now we have a price closet. Now,
what? Tell me again. We're in the classroom at home. That's awesome, though.
Now we have a price closet.
And
he's doing the virtual learning, and whenever he accomplishes something that it's a milestone or something that we really wanted him to accomplish, or something that he gets to go pick out a prize from the closet. So we go to the store, and he picks something, but he knows ahead of time, you're not going to open this now. This is going in the prize closet. Okay. But it's something that he's already picked out.
Yeah.
So he's got stuff up there. He's got Transformers. He's got all sorts of Hot Wheels. Now he's getting into the big...
Man, I'd be incentivized to work a little bit harder
there. Now he's getting into the big Pokemon balls, the ones that brings the cards inside.
Oh, okay.
He's not interested in the cards.
He's interested in
the ball itself. Balls. Yeah. So, yeah. You have to do what you have to do. And if doing it incentive wise works, then it works,
That is awesome. But the feeling of that trick working And I mean, it is a trick.
After
but it's
trying and trying and trying this and reading this book and trying this technique and going to this training and nothing was working.
I couldn't imagine the amount of peace that you got from that one when you hear the bloop. Oh, it happened.
Like, you mean I don't have to buy any more pull-ups? Yes.
Oh my goodness. So I want to kind of wrap up the story there. And again, this is a story that is ever going for you.
It's ever going.
And
yes.
I would love to be able to have you back on, and we discussed a little bit more of just the everyday life.
We should have back for the teenage years.
Yes,
oh
yes, because this is going to be very interesting. You know, my wife actually, she works for the school district, and she rode the bus with the kids that would go for them, and she said they would pick up, kids in the wheelchair, autistic kids on the spectrum, and just she got to see that world. And like I think I told you from the very beginning of this interview, or prior, whenever I asked you to do the interview, there's a lot of people that have this story and have this life. And it's almost like a lot of us have a looking glass. We look through the mirror and we see, I mean, the stuff that you're describing, and I'm sure there's a lot more stuff that you can describe that is probably, to a lot of parents, out of the norm.
Mm-hmm. And it goes beyond more than that. Like, I'm ready to I was telling Alfonso this morning, like, Miguel is not getting what he needs in our public school system. And there are private schools out there that offer the ABA therapy in conjunction with the academics. But guess what? They're private schools.
And they cost at least $30,000. Exactly.
They're not cheap. When I called to inquire and ask, I think the man said it was $50,000.
Oh my God.
A year.
And a
year.
The crazy part is, you were just having a kid.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
So why are our autistic kids left behind? Why isn't this mainstream? Why don't they have a school? Not saying separate them, because they never want that. And that part I understand. They want the least restrictive environment possible, and I get that. But offer the program within the school, so that there is a program where they do integrate the ABA therapy within the academics
or even funding for you.
There's many of teachers teaching sped ed out there already that are ABA certified.
But just
use them.
Just being funded, you're this is just probably a broader sense, but like the fact that you're just a person born in this country, like. You just had a kid. What's wrong with that, right? Like, you're not trying to you didn't do anything crazy.
And it's prevented me from having another one.
Exactly. And I wish there was a way to where if you had a kid that was on the spectrum, whatever spectrum, right? Whatever consequence, whatever happens, that the state or the country would just be able to go, okay, we'll take care of you, because for one, we're one of my citizens. We want to make sure you're a great, productive citizen. Having a son like this might hinder some of the things that you have and set you back for greater things.
It's not so much asking for it to be free, right?
Yeah, it's not free. It's just
make it affordable.
Yeah.
Why can't that be affordable? Why can't it be like the therapy? Why is it something that I can't afford?
But like anything else in human life, if it doesn't happen to you, you don't necessarily care. And that's where I was going back with the looking glass. Like a lot of people go, oh, I know she has a son with on the spectrum, or he has a son that has cerebral palsy. I can't remember. I can always struggle with saying those typical names.
I struggle too.
But they walk by and they see, like, man, that's difficult. Well, let's keep on walking by, like just window shopping. That's what it feels like. And a lot of us don't sit there and we talk about, hey, how's Lillian doing today? How's her? I know what she's going through. And I understand, like, you don't want to feel like you're complaining, but hey, we're here to talk if you want to kind of let some of that stuff go. So, I just wanted you to come on and share that story, and to the many audience members that are out there living that life and living that, as always, I end with the question that I always like to end with is, what is your life lesson? And so with everything you've had, all the excitement, the ups and downs of the life and the continuing to come, what is your... Oh no! I changed the question, right? I changed the question. At what point would you go back in your life, and what advice would you give at that point? And it could be any age, obviously.
I guess with everything that I've gone, I'm not gonna let Murphy's Law define me anymore. Like, if something bad happens, I'm gonna just do my best to persevere and to move on and to just use it as a learning experience and to just grow stronger from it. Because if I dwell and I'm just like, woe is me, I'm gonna end in a dark place, and that's not where I want to go, because my family needs me, and that's not what I want for them. That's not what I want for me. And that's so true. You have to persevere, and you have to just make lemonade with the lemons that you get given in life.
That's awesome. And I think that's great advice. And when would you give that to yourself? Like, if you could go back at any moment and give yourself that advice, when would you be able to give that? When would you want that advice in hindsight?
Probably through the whole NICU experience. That was pretty traumatic. That was probably like the worst time for us. Like, just because it was very stressful, because it was a life or death situation for both of Miguel and I for a while, and then just for Miguel. I mean, and poor Alfonso, man, he had the brunt of it. Like,
emotionally carrying that.
He toughed it out too. Like, man, props to my man. Like, he held us together. He was pushing that bus for us.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, again, I think this is a great way to end the episode. So if you guys made it to the end, I appreciate you for listening and hope you enjoyed it. And as always, like and subscribe down below to find out for the next episode. And with that, we're done. And we're out of here.
Thanks for having me, Nick.
All right. We'll catch y'all guys in the next episode.